Lucamus Prime here, so it is time for the next episode of a movie that didn't need a sequel, and in today's video I'm going to cover this time an example of an animated film, which actually is the first animated film by Sony to be released, and I pretend it's not the first one to be made by them, and this is an example of a film which in my opinion did not need sequels because, in my opinion, it was not good enough to warrant becoming a franchise by any means whatsoever, and this film, of course, is none other than 2006's Open Season. So, when it comes to this film, guys, I'm personally not a fan of it because I've watched it a couple of times in my life. First time I thought it was okay, really, but unfortunately, with rewatches, I've noticed more and more problems with it, and my opinion has unfortunately changed in a negative way, sadly. And I no longer regard it as a good film. I personally think it's not good in the slightest, for many reasons. So, for example, I feel the film is really gross at times, with very cringe moments, and pretty disgusting scenes too, as well. And sometimes I also think the characters, a lot of the main ones in particular, can be pretty annoying as well. Like, for example, Elliot, because I think he's really dumb and a moron at times. And I think as well the animation can be pretty bad for 2006 standards. I mean, because I've seen older animated films than this, which had way better animation. And that's just, just appalling how this film is from 2006, and I've seen better films released before which have way better animation. And I think the film is just really weird, and it feels more like a soulless version of films I've seen before which involve talking animals, like, for example, Madagascar and Over a Hedge. Like, those films, in my opinion, are much better than this. But this film just gets really mean-spirited in comparison to those, in my opinion. And it's just really weird at times, and I'm just not a fan of it. And I personally think they should not have done sequels at all, because I don't think it was good enough to warrant becoming a franchise by any means whatsoever. So, all I can say is that they should have just ended it there, really, and not continue this. I like to pretend that Sony's first animated film was actually, of course, Surf's Up. That's my opinion, because I personally think that's where we should have kicked off a franchise, really, of Sony's animated films. And I feel the voice cast of this definitely, in my opinion, wasted their time as well. I'll definitely say that. Because you have a very stellar cast of actors in this, great actors. And I feel that all, in my opinion, were wasted in this, which is very unfortunate. And if you guys remember my ranking video, I used to own the first one on DVD, but after I hated it a lot when I rewatched it, I, of course, sold the movie, and you know what, good riddance. And despite, of course, me not being a fan of this film when I look back at it, unfortunately, it did spawn a sequel, which is very unfortunate. And that, of course, was Open Season 2 from 2008. And I was once again not a fan of this film at all, once again. Like, because while the first one may not have been good, this one, in my opinion, had a much more worse plot and story in comparison. And the animation was also, once again, in my opinion, not good. And many of the character designs were really weird too, I must say, as well. And I think the film is also really boring as well, in my opinion. Just ridiculous. And it feels like a direct-to-video film instead of an actual film, really, to be honest. Despite being released in theatres for some reason. Like, I don't understand why they released in theatres when it didn't even feel like a theatrical movie at all, to be belonging on the big screen. Then again, I don't think any of these films deserve to be on the big screen because how bad they are, in my opinion. And one thing as well that I think also applies to all sequels, which I think also sucks, is also the recasts, because a lot of the actors in these films did not come back for the sequels, and to be honest, I don't really blame them because they're dodging a bullet. And personally, I think the voice cast in the recasts, in my opinion, are not good replacements because they don't even try to be like who voiced the character before, in my opinion. And the characters just, I don't care about them whatsoever. And this sequel, in my opinion, was really boring. But then we get to what is, in my opinion, the absolute worst of the worst, in my opinion, to me. One which I think is absolutely terrible. And that, of course, is 2010's Open Season 3. Oh my god. This film is most definitely one of the absolute worst films I've ever had the misfortune of seeing in my life. And I would regard it as one of Sony's worst animated films I've ever seen in my life too, because the worst one I've seen of all time is, of course, Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania, which is actually the worst animated film I've ever seen in my life, ever, which I think is absolute garbage. But this film, Open Season 3, is definitely up there as being among the absolute worst, in my opinion. And I just think it's absolutely terrible, in my opinion. And I could not believe what I was watching. Like, just absolutely dreadful. And this is one of those times when I don't even have a clue what story we're trying to tell in this third film. Like, I had no clue whatsoever what they were trying to tell us in this. It was just, you know, ridiculous, really. Like, and I don't even know what was good about this film, because personally, guys, when I look back at this third film, I don't think there's anything good about it. Like, nothing, in my opinion, could save this absolute trash at all. And the recast, once again, absolutely sucked. And personally, I don't think they worked in this third film at all, once again, because the recast in Open Season 2 didn't even come back for this third film for the most part. So yeah, and the recast in this, in my opinion, were also terrible as well. And this film was just so boring. In my opinion, it has no plot, because I don't even have a clue what this film is even about. Like, what is this film even about, seriously? Like, goodness me. Like, I don't have a clue what story we're trying to tell, and if I wasn't watching the film for your benefit, when I watched the films, I think it was last year or so, I watched all 4 of them, I'd have probably switched off the film early into, because I thought it was terrible and just really boring. No character I liked, and not even a good story for me to get, you know, the attention and to, really, because it was just terrible in my opinion. And just what an absolutely terrible film it was. Definitely, in my opinion, nothing good about it. So, all I can say is, screw this third film all the way. Then, however, despite me really hating this third film, we did, however, get a 4th movie, somehow, in 2015, which, of course, was Open Season Scared Silly, which was, in my opinion, also garbage, like the rest of this franchise. And for some reason, it ignores the third movie. I mean, because while I appreciate it if it ignored the third one, because the third one, in my opinion, is the absolute worst, it was still, in my opinion, a trash movie. And personally, I think that this film really ruined Elliot a lot, because while I thought he was a bit of a douchebag in the previous 3 films, in this film, they made him so unlikable. Like, absolutely insufferable, in my opinion. They really masked the character beyond all belief. And I couldn't believe what they did at all. It was terrible, in my opinion. But yeah, all I can say is, Open Season from 2006 is one of those examples of where, of course, I personally think it wasn't good. It was not good enough to become a franchise, in my opinion. So, all I can say is, screw this franchise all the way. And I like to pretend that Sony doesn't have Open Season as a franchise in it at all. Like, if you guys have not seen these films, then good, because you're saving yourself from lots of pain. Just terrible films, in my opinion. Like, goodness me, they were so bad. And when it comes to the future of a franchise too, I also really hope we don't do any more films. If they do, I'm not going to watch them. But I'm just going to watch Sony's good films instead. I'm not going to stick to any of these Open Season films at all. All I can say is screw these films all the way. So, as far as I'm concerned, guys, this film and franchise should never happen at all to begin with. Never. So long as we're short, guys, this me covering why, in my opinion, Open Season is a big example I can say in animated film territory of a film that did not need sequels, because personally, in my opinion, it was not good enough to warrant becoming a franchise, because in my opinion, it's not a good film. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let us know in the comments what you guys think of Open Season. Do you think it needed sequels or not? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe, and videos to come in the future. And I'll see you all later.